All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Go! Get to the podcast!
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a podcast?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and
Podcast.
and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. My name is Diego D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
And it's still scary time.
Oh my God. Are you going to start every fucking episode with I'm scared or it's scary time?
Yeah, I'm near you.
It's
bitch.
getting old. You're near. Jesus
You
Christ.
ugly.
Jesus
Ugly.
Christ.
You ugly. You just ugly.
Jesus.
No, not Jesus, you. Why you bringing Jesus?
Jesus.
No, I'm talking about you. Anywho.
Somebody needs to slap fire out of his ass, I'm telling you.
Slap fire out of my ass.
It's from a Wu-Tang album. No, it's from Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links. I always remember this thing. He goes, man, I'll smack fire out your ass.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
What
but
does
it's
that
great.
mean?
Sounds painful.
It does.
Yeah.
But then he goes, don't treat me like I got a flower pot for a head. I'm like, what? What does that mean? But that's the Wu-Tang. They're always saying this shit. It's like, is that a thing?
Yeah.
People saying that? They
that
come up with
happening?
these words and these.
That's what you do, man. If you have that power, you can just create things.
I know, it's great.
Yeah.
There
great.
you go. All right, what are we talking about today? We're still in that scary
We're still,
mode.
yeah. It's fucking still Halloween month, man. Halloween's still a week away. And we're gonna revisit. We're gonna talk about recent horror movie franchises and kind of break them down. What makes them great? What makes a great horror franchise? Because sometimes a movie, they'll start with a great first film, and then they'll descend into B movie schlock in the later films.
Yes.
That's very common in the horror world. But then sometimes they'll keep it going and they'll be good.
That's
And
true,
then like each one will be like, wow, this is solid. And it feels like they're doing that more often these days than they were in the past. Back in the day, it was very common just to descend into schlock.
Yeah.
Now it seems like there's also this mentality where it's like sequels don't have to be bad. That was like that probably in any franchise, any genre, where sequels were always considered worse than the original. There's only like a handful that were better. Now it seems like they're kind of getting this thing down. Like, how do you make a good sequel?
Yeah.
Because there was like all these rules that were in place about sequels, and they were like, all those rules are what are making sequels terrible.
Right.
Has to be bigger. Has to be. Everything needs to blow up more. Everything needs to
More
be this
nudity,
way.
more
more
blood,
more
violence.
Same tropes. That type of stuff.
I want to say Saw kind of fell into that. The whole Saw franchise, to a large degree, fell into that.
Okay, so let's start talking
mentality.
let's talk about Saw first.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first movie, good movie.
First movie is a great movie, I think.
Very different
I thought
from
it
the
was
later
great,
ones.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a. I mean, it has horror elements, but it's more of a thriller than anything else.
yeah. There definitely is.
It is horror if you think of the.
It's absolutely
it's
horror.
Realistic.
Yeah.
And that. These
But there's a
things-
lot of suspense.
But there's only like 2 scenes. There's a scene where there's a guy who's like in the cage, the obese guy, and then he like shreds himself up trying to get out. And then there's the chick who has the helmet on that like rips your
right.
jaw off or whatever. And then the guy cuts his leg off.
Right.
Carrie Elwes.
Carrie Elwes.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot more. I mean, there's there's creepy masks and all that kind of stuff, and but it's not like the later films, which is just like nonstop gore and horrific deaths.
The later ones seem to concentrate more on the grotesque acts of torture and
less on the story,
self-mutilation and all that, and less on the story. Whereas the first one was you were intrigued. There was a lot of intrigue and like, what's going on? What's going on here? Like, what's happening?
Like, why these 2 guys? Like,
I look at thrillers as something that I have a higher probability of getting out from.
Yeah.
There's a higher chance of me surviving.
Right.
Now,
Horror
films is like
you never
there's
survive.
basically no chance of me surviving.
One person survives.
So
if you're black, fat, or funny, you're not surviving a horror film. At least that's how it used to be.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah,
That's true.
Or if you have big breasts, it's like one of the,
one of the favorite my favorite.
If you have big
lines
breast, you have a long scene, but you're not going to survive.
Yeah,
you're
you're
not
not
gonna
gonna
survive. That movie Evolution with David Duchovny.
Yeah, David Duchovny and
Orlando Jones. There's a scene. Yeah, There's a scene where they go into this like cave and a meteor crash. And there's all these alien creatures everywhere. And David Duchovny says to Orlando Jones, he's like, snag it. And he like looks at him, he's like, snag it? He's like, yeah, snag the alien. He's like, I've seen this movie. The black guy dies first. You snag it. I was like, since I've seen that movie, that's like one of my favorite
I
lines.
love that.
Like,
Well, I
say that
imagine
all
Last
the time.
Action Hero too. I can't die. I'm a main character. Wait a minute. I'm the comedy sidekick. I'm the comedy sidekick. When he's playing chicken with the car.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean that's how it used to be. But you know we've become more, I guess you could say,
Self-aware.
sophisticated, self-aware, more
Yeah.
sophisticated as an audience, and we expect more from our films. We're not
Yeah.
going to fall for the same tricks. You can't do most of the movies in the '80s you pretty much couldn't do today.
Yeah.
You know, people would be like, that's just so. It just doesn't.
I mean, if they
feel-
do it, it's like a comedy or something.
Yeah,
you know, it's
exactly.
humorous.
It's almost hard. It's so hard to do twists these days. You know, in the '90s, it feels like they really started up this whole like twist ending thing. '90s into the
Yeah, the
2000s.
Hitchcock, they brought- yeah.
They brought that whole thing back. The twist. You know, Shyamalan was doing it, but then there was other like Scream. The end of
Yeah.
Scream. That
Even
whole
Saw.
twist. Saw.
Saw is a crazy twist at the end if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, and that became a real thing, and it's harder to even do the twist thing. So it doesn't even seem. I don't remember enough about the later
Yeah.
Saw films to remember how much. I
Oh,
don't
they'll
know.
tell you this. Carrie Elways comes back in like Saw 7.
Yeah,
If you, do you
I
remember
heard.
that?
No, I heard.
Yeah.
That. I didn't see
I
that.
watched
I saw
it, and
them all.
I watched the whole movie. Not the most recent one, Jigsaw, but the one I
saw
think right
Jigsaw.
before. I think the one right before. At the last like 2 minutes of the movie, he
Saw
shows up,
7.
and I was like, "This is
Jigsaw
this is,
takes Manhattan.
yeah." I was like, "This is so hokey,"
Yeah.
but like Jigsaw never comes back.
Yeah.
What?
I just saw the new Jigsaw. Sorry,
Did you?
spoilers.
I thought you said you didn't. Oh yeah, no.
I saw it in
yeah.
theaters, and it was
Yeah, I was so
horrible.
upset.
It was awful.
I
I was
was
like, why
so
did I
upset.
lie to myself and think
Right.
this is going to be halfway decent?
So what did they
he
do
just spoiled
wrong?
it.
What did they do wrong? No, it's fine. What
Oh, it
did
was
they do
exactly
wrong?
what you said. It was like B movie, just like blood and gore, ripping arms off, ripping heads off,
Right.
chopping
Now-
things off.
Right. The original creators didn't come back for the later Saw movies, right? Or they didn't come back past 2, I think.
You know, I don't know actually. I don't
James
know if they
Wan-
turned it
James
over.
Wan.
You're right. Yeah.
No, they never came back. James Wan directed the first film, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, did he direct the
Let me
second
look it
one?
up.
I think
'Cause
he directed
I think
the
the
second
guy
one.
directed, wrote the guy who wrote the first one, which is the Australian guy who was also in the first film. He also
Yeah.
wrote Conjuring, Insidious, and all that. I think he wrote the second one. Let's see.
He may have.
He probably have. I think that while he looks for it. I think
Lee
this is
Winnell.
what.
He also did that Upgrade movie recently.
Yeah, which that was freaking
Yeah.
awesome.
He's
Was
always
that really good?
That was really
heard
good.
that was
I wanna
really
see
good.
it.
It's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Um,
it's basically like an underrated film. It's
Yeah.
really good. So, I think the problem with Saw films and those type of films is, are you okay?
Excuse me.
Is that once you see it, the
Yeah.
element of seeing it twice is not really there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because-
he wrote. I'm sorry. He wrote the first 3 Saws.
He did okay.
Yeah. But James Wan.
He only did the first one. Right?
He only directed the first one.
Because he went on to do.
Yeah, I think he's a producer on the later ones.
Yeah, he went on to
And
do
the second
Dead
one
Silence.
wasn't that bad.
He did.
Yeah, Dead Silence. That's right. Which
That's just to
Conjuring.
get rights to make the film. Yeah, you produce.
Yeah, he
You
didn't do
produce
any
it.
of the later Saws, but he did. He was a producer. He was a producer on like all the Saws. They were because that was their.
Yeah.
They created that.
They probably own the
They
property.
met in like
Yeah,
film-
they
film
own the
school.
property.
Yeah, they met in film school and then
That's
just
to
came
get the
up
rights
with
to
these-
make the film.
Yeah.
That's literally what that was.
They
yeah.
made so much money.
Yeah.
They had to have made so much money because
Yeah.
it was like every Halloween. I remember, and the second I realized that they were doing a Saw movie every Halloween or
Yeah.
that time period, I was like, oh, these are gonna be awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they have like 9 months to like bang out a movie or something.
But you know what?
The horror's always
I-
been done on a low budget, so it could be done. It's just
I
Is it gonna
would
be
have
original?
accepted the last film
yeah,
if they did bring back Jigsaw.
yeah.
I would say, okay,
the
well,
movie's
this-
called Jigsaw, and they didn't bring back Jigsaw.
They did not bring I would have accepted it if they brought him back.
Deadpool's
Yeah.
not going to be in Deadpool.
That
by
would
the way. Deadpool 3 is not going to have Deadpool. It's going to be Jean Grey.
it's just gonna be Jean Grey.
It doesn't make sense. I was just saying, it's like if you call it Jigsaw, why would Jigsaw not be in it? I don't know.
There's flashback sequences and they make you think the whole movie that he's still alive.
Oh,
Have you
okay.
seen it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's,
Okay.
They basically make you think that he came back and did this final plan, but at the
okay.
end you find out that it's actually a flashback with another guy that was involved in the whole
Okay.
It is actually. I will
It's
say
a
with like an
retroactive
appren-
spoiler
with like,
alert.
yeah,
It's a
it's like
spoiler,
a
yeah.
with like a apprentice.
Okay.
He this whole time he had an apprentice.
the way they tell the story is clever. Like you see these things happening, and you think everything in the movie is happening at the same time,
Yeah.
and it's not. You're seeing something that happened like 10 years earlier and things that are happening right now.
Like that.
And it's the filmmaker tricking the audience. It's not. It's clever in the sense that
It's
the
clever,
director
but it
tricked
was
you.
so like dumb at the. I was like,
But you're like,
I would
oh.
have accepted if they brought him back and they finished it with him, because
Arrival.
that would have been great.
Like Arrival in that way.
But Arrival, you just
Arrival
assumed
landed
everything
well.
you saw was a flashback.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like you.
The director did trick you, but then they had a reason for it.
I loved it.
And then
Yeah.
Saw, there's no reason
Okay.
other than to trick you and
I
make
loved
you
it.
confused as an
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I
Arrival
did love
was
it.
great.
I did
did
love
it
it as
well.
Arrival, yeah.
This one they just, when they do the whole film well, and then the ending, it's just like it doesn't work.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just doesn't work, and that's exactly what happened. Because if they ended it with Jigsaw being alive,
Yeah.
that would have been a great Shyamalan
Twist, yeah.
twist.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be like a
the reveal-
grade A film,
Yeah.
but it's still like, okay, well that's a decent ending to the series. I'm good. I put a closure to that.
I mean,
but
there was like a connection to the second movie or something. It was a connection
They
to
did
like
a
the
couple
events in the
connections, yeah.
beginning of a whole series that like
Yeah.
made sense why this apprentice did what he did and who
Yeah.
he is and why he's significant. But they just kind of pulled him out of a hat. Like
The-
it wasn't
yeah.
a character from any of the other films. He wasn't an actor in any of those movies.
Well, they connected him to the first one. Basically, Jigsaw had cancer, and that's why he died.
Right.
But he didn't have cancer. The guy who is his apprentice actually messed up his sonogram, whatever that was.
Sonogram.
Whatever.
No,
it's
not
not
sonogram,
sonogram.
it's,
That's for ladies.
CAT scan.
Yeah, CAT scan.
MRI.
Yeah,
Probably like MRI.
Yeah,
CAT scan or
MRI.
something.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Messed up his MRI.
Yeah.
So yeah, he wasn't pregnant.
So
So.
if you got cancer growing in that belly.
I don't know why I was thinking that.
Oh, look at your cancer has legs.
It's a baby Saw.
Look, there's his heartbeat.
It's
It's a baby
it's a male
Saw.
cancer.
Yeah. So basically he messed his MRI up.
Okay.
He put the wrong name on there, and that's why he
Yeah.
went and worked with him, whatever. But it was just wasn't.
I mean, that's a bad, like, so this is an example of, like, not a
Yes.
particularly great franchise.
But it
I-
started good, but then it just kind of descended into B movie. Then
you guys haven't seen the Insidious films, have you?
I did.
Diego?
I
have
saw
not.
the first two. No, I saw the first two.
It's worth watching the
same creators, by the way.
Same creators, same
Saw.
guys. Like, I would say all 4 of the Insidious films are solid. To me, the first, probably the second, I think is the best one, but the first is like it's very close in quality to
Yeah.
the second. 1 and 2 are fantastic. The 3 and 4 are basically prequels.
Okay.
They explain the background. They follow the medium who's in the first and 2, the older lady who was in Something About Mary. I forget what the actress's name is. She's been in like 1,000 movies.
Okay.
But she plays this like medium, and she has like these 2 yokel, chucklehead guys that follow her around, and one of them is Lee Winnell, the writer. He wrote all of these movies,
Right.
And they're all solid. Like they're all very solid. And I just watched the most recent one, I think it's called like Insidious: The Last Key or something.
Okay.
And the way that film, I mean, I don't think this is a spoiler, but the way.
So I will probably end up seeing it.
Well, because they're prequels, the way that film ends, it literally ends with like the beginning of Insidious.
the first one,
So
okay.
it's like a closed circle.
Are they
like
all
a loop.
prequels? To the
No.
other? Does it go backwards? Like all like 2
No,
is a
no.
prequel to the first?
The first one, the second is a sequel to the first one.
Okay.
Because the ending of the first one is insane.
Okay.
You're just like, when that first movie ends, you're like, this is so fucked up, but you're like intrigued.
Yeah.
You're like,
Okay.
this is crazy. And then the way the second movie plays out is you're like, this is fucking even more crazy.
Right.
And then the third movie is a prequel that seems like very unconnected to
Okay.
any of it. It was almost like its own
A
separate
side story,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it has the medium and her 2 yokel
Yeah.
chuckleheads or whatever. They're ghost hunters. That's what they like call themselves.
Okay.
That's the one. The third one. The guy's wearing a Masters of the Universe T-shirt.
I never watched the
And
third
he's
No, I
one.
never-
This is vintage. Anyways, it's great.
Okay.
And then the fourth one, it like ties everything together.
Okay.
It's really, really, really good. It's
Okay.
like there's all these, and it's funny because if you watch the first one and the last one, there's these little nuanced things that you'll like catch and you'll be like, holy shit! So because she did this in the fourth movie, that's why this happened in the first
Oh,
movie.
interesting.
They do little stuff like that because
So what made the Insidious ones work? Why didn't that descend into like what's different about it that made it stand out from, let's say, what happened with the Saw series?
I think, all the Insidious movies, I'm pretty sure are PG-13.
Are they
so
really?
They're not R. They're more about ghosts and there's scares. There's
Right.
not a lot of blood and like
Yeah.
stabbing and killing. There's a lot of ghosts. A lot
Okay.
of there's creatures that are like basically just ghosts.
If I remember correctly, the first two Insidious, like
there's demons. I would say
there's demons and stuff. Yeah. And the stories didn't try to
Holy shit, they are PG-13.
expand much. They kept the stories tight. I think the difference
it's about
between,
like the family.
It's
about
the
a family, and there's like a possession.
Where
or
they just kept expanding almost every like elements to try to make it bigger and bigger, and it just started failing and failing and failing.
Yeah,
and it just didn't work out. But Insidious, I don't know the third and fourth one. I didn't finish it off, but I know the first one and the second one. The stories were tight.
Yeah,
they were like almost.
Well, James Wan directed the first and second. I want to say.
Okay.
The same guy that did Saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
And The Conjuring.
Yeah, and The Conjuring and Conjuring 2, which
See,
I think
watched
all of
those.
those are
Again,
were
same the writers.
great.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's these guys. Okay, we're obviously on the same filmmakers right now, but we'll move off into some other ones. But right, they also did the
They're
Conjuring
like the biggest
series.
franchises that I could see of like modern horror films that'll last like.
And they're all the
5
same
years,
writer and
something like
directors,
that.
basically. Same writer and same director. Two guys.
Two guys, yeah. And I think the thing is, it stands out to me is he doesn't use a lot of special effects, like in the Insidious films and the Conjuring films specifically. Like you haven't seen The Conjuring, right? Dude, I think I said this before in an earlier
I almost
podcast.
pressed play because it's on Netflix now.
Both of them are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost pressed play.
Watch
I was
the
like,
first one,
I just
like-
was not in the mood for an intense horror or anything.
It's intense, but like the way the film is shot, everything is like practical. Like there's
Yeah.
no special effects in the whole movie. Everything's like in camera, which I love, and I love the cinematography of
It's
those
all lighting.
movies.
It's literally
Okay.
lighting.
Yeah, he is like whoever his cinematographer is. It's like the films are like beautifully shot.
Yeah.
You're just like you're engrossed in like this world or whatever, and
Right.
and it's basically like the first Conjuring is like based on the Amityville Horror, which is
Yeah.
Amityville Horror is based on these two
This
people,
haunted
these
house.
husband and
In
wife
Long
that
Island.
went and
Yeah.
investigated this family or whatever, and then the later movie Conjuring 2, they're both based on real things, which is
Well,
even more
Amityville
interesting.
Horror was really just, I think, a guy killed his family in a house in Long Island in Amityville.
He didn't actually kill his family in the actual events, but it's based on a true story. It's about this.
No, but in the movie,
husband.
the movie takes like a supernatural, paranormal element.
Correct.
So what,
yeah.
but it was really just a grotesque murder scene.
No. Dude, I watched a whole documentary
All right.
on the Amityville. They actually interviewed one of the kids who's now grown up.
Is this the one they showed on InfoWars that one time?
Yeah, this is on. Yeah,
Alex Jones really like
AJ recommended.
Yeah.
No, it was on Netflix.
AJ.
It was AJ. So in the documentary or whatever, they interviewed this kid who was actually one of the kid. It was like 4 kids or something, and there was stepfather or whatever. And it turned out the kid claimed that his dad was into like I don't know. He had friends and they were into some like weird cult thing where they were like basically doing like animal sacrifices and like summoning shit.
Okay.
And he claims that there was like some entity in the house. It was like basically beating up everybody. Like the kids were getting like thrown into walls and they'd wake up with like black eyes and all kinds of weird shit was going on. And they had all these like paranormal investigators come to their house and it became this sensational thing in the 70s. And then the movies came out after it like blew up in the media.
Okay, so Conjuring is related to the Amityville horrors.
Yeah. This
Okay, got it. Wow.
the first one, yeah.
Got it. Jesus.
And the
I
second
I
was
need to
this
see
whole
that. I really
incident.
know very little about it. And then I know that Annabelle is related to The Conjuring, right? Was it
Yeah,
Annabelle?
so Annabelle is one of the cases that they invested So it's this husband and wife.
Yeah,
Bill and
Patrick
Betty,
Wilson and
Betty
what's
Warren
her
or
face,
something like
yeah.
that. Is that what it is, Diego?
Is it Tony?
The Warrens. It's the Warrens.
The Warrens, yes.
Yeah.
Is it that
Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga.
Farmiga, yeah.
Yeah.
They're great
both
together.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
And
in those
Patrick
films.
Wilson is in Insidious.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
She's incredible. The wife, she's so incredible in that.
She's a great
Yeah.
actress.
Yeah, she's really good.
I like her in Up in the Air. But yeah, so
She was in
okay.
The Commuter. That just came
Yeah,
out.
and Bates Motel.
Oh, right. Yeah, she played the mom.
Yep. And so did Margot Kidder played the mom in Psycho 4, same character, and she was in the original Amityville Horror.
Oh,
connected.
full circle.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Full circle.
Good God.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are other franchises out there other than the James Wan ones.
Oh
I
yeah.
I
But
think that
they're kind of the king
very
of the horror
successful.
world right now. They're all like, they are low budget, but not done in a way that's like,
Well, James Wan's new film is Aquaman,
yeah, that's right.
which is funny because it's like the opposite of anything
Well, he
he's
did
ever
Fast
made.
and Furious 7. He did Fast and
Okay.
Furious 7, so
Maybe,
he
yeah.
has kind
It's
of
not
like
that different. I
experience,
mean, it
yeah.
is going to probably
The special
be a horror
effects
film.
look like through the roof in Aquaman.
Yeah,
though.
well,
It's
probably
like
gonna-
CG.
probably gonna be
he's
a
not
horror
working
film for DC.
The other guy went off is doing his own thing, starting to direct. I think he directed Upgrade, this Lee Whannell guy.
Yeah.
So they're kind of they're off doing their own things right now, not
Yeah.
together. I think when they do the horror things, they come together. But okay, so the key to these horror franchises, right, is that each movie needs to be taken as its own movie, not necessarily because those Insidious movies came out really kind of every year too, right? Didn't they?
I think there was space.
No,
in
they
between them.
they're spacing between those.
Okay.
They didn't come out
at least
as fast.
the last two.
Because I think
So you're saying they need to take more time to create these
No,
movies
I
as
think
individual films, not just try to cash in on the name every Halloween.
No, I think he was doing Conjuring in the same time also. I think Conjuring was coming out before it came out.
Okay,
before.
so Insidious came out in 2010.
Yeah.
Insidious 2, 2013. Insidious Chapter 3, 2015. Insidious The
Okay.
Last Key, 2018.
Okay, so they put some
And
time
Conjuring,
in creating
yeah.
those films. They didn't just try to bang them out every Halloween.
Yeah, they had
Okay,
a
that's
couple
good.
years. Yeah,
Because I'll
they
tell
had
you.
Conjuring between that. Yeah.
Okay, the Paranormal Activity movies I actually really liked.
yeah. That's a whole. I mean, there's like 5.
Yeah, there's like 5. I actually only watched the first 3.
Yeah.
I just kind of got disinterested after that.
I'm just
But-
upset that they made a movie for $5 and I'm paying them $20 for it for the ticket.
I'm not because I would love that to happen to me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Hello?
true.
Yeah, you gotta look
I
at the
would
flip
love
side.
that.
But I
But like
like
all
those-
of the
yeah.
later films still feel like they're $5 movies, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how am I still paying for this?
But I like
this
those
movie had
movies-
a budget of like $20
Because they're done on like a shoestring budget, and they're so simple. There's very little special effects in it, and I love it. I really do like those movies.
Yeah.
And the second one, which was good. So the first one has the that one woman and her boyfriend. The second one, it's her sister. It's actually at the same time. It's parallel with the first movie, and it's videoing the sister and what's going on in her house.
Yeah.
Right.
They're
is it
very-
parallel? Yeah,
they're
it's
very
basically at the same time.
voyeuristic films.
They are. They really are. But the
Yeah.
third one I thought they took it in a slightly different direction. Was great, and it was a throwback. It all takes place in the 80s, and it's the two sisters as kids in the house, and their first encounter with Toby, basically, which is the spirit.
The spirit,
They
yeah.
name him in that movie. So the
Toby.
first two, he's like this ghost thing, but in the
that
third
an
one,
Office
he's,
reference?
yeah, everybody hates Toby. He's like an evil snail. Yeah, so the third one, and that one's freaky. It takes place, so it's all on VHS. It's in the
that's
80s.
cool.
They're little girls, and
Yeah.
there's like scenes where like the older sister's chasing the little sister, and she's running, and boom, she bangs into this like
Invisible wall or
invisible
something.
force, and she's staring up at it. She's like, "No, I'm sorry." And it grabs her by the fucking ponytail, lifts her up, and she screams. And I'm like, oh, fucking Jesus. And this thing, like, they have tea parties with this ghost.
Yeah.
And you think it's all fine, but then he has this mean streak. And they're like,
Yeah.
Toby's mean. Toby's mad at me. Like, they'll tell their mother. And they're
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Then there's
Who's
this whole,
Toby?
there's this whole occult element to it at the end of the film.
Oh,
where the grandmother's
Did
involved.
I see this? I may have seen.
Yeah.
That sounds very familiar.
At the
cult
grandmother's
aspect
house.
of it.
And then the mom at the top of the stairs.
Okay, so they like summoned this evil.
Yeah, it's
Toby.
crazy, and the two girls are kind of like it's bananas.
Yeah.
and it kind of explains the first film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will
How
say
he
that
came
first
to-
film like freaked me out. Like the scene, is that the one where the like the toe starts to get like pulled or whatever?
Yeah,
and then the person gets
she
yanked.
gets yanked off the bed and then dragged
Yeah.
out of the hallway. That's
because
like
that movie
that's the
came
last
out and
minute
it
of
was
the film.
Yeah, it was
It's
one
so
of those.
great because
you
that's
know,
all practical.
all
and just
practical.
cover up.
Yeah, they had like a
Literally.
little string or something
Yeah.
on there, or whatever.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I love that because that was like, oh, it gives you chills because you never really see something like that on a CCTV type
Yes.
Yeah.
video or whatever, and you're like, oh, this is so great. Like it's
Yeah.
very creative, but then I don't know.
So-
After a while, I just got a little burned out.
So the
by
third
whole thing.
film-
So the guy who did the advertisement for the first Paranormal Activity,
Yeah.
he was my professor.
Oh, really?
He's the one that sat there and said that we have nothing to show as a trailer.
Yeah.
Let's show the audience, and that's how they came up with
Right,
showing
that's right,
the
and
audience.
them freaking
Yeah.
out.
He was the one
Yeah.
that made that
I
decision
remember that
on
one.
there. Yeah.
I
Okay.
forgot about that. Those trailers.
Yeah,
They were
those
like the
trailers are
audience
awesome.
screaming, or the TV trailers, I guess. when
Let's
they're
talk
promoting
about
it.
So the
Crazy.
guy who did the first Paranormal Activity
still
movie,
Paranormal.
the director of that was also a producer on Insidious.
Oh.
So it's Oren Peli or whatever his name is. So like that's all kind of linked up. It's like we keep naming these other franchises, but they're all kind of connected.
Yeah. And you have
There's these few
Sinister
key guys.
is another one, but they're all connected through like
Sinister is
Blumhouse.
also, yeah.
Right? Blumhouse,
yeah.
Blumhouse Productions.
Yeah. But one more thing I want to mention, Paranormal Activity 3, they did something different. See, and this is what was key. It's like, a lot of franchises back in the day, they would try and hit the same tropes. Like in a comedy genre, Austin Powers 2, the Spy Who Shagged Me, funny movie, but it's literally a joke for joke recreation of the first film practically. Like literally they're just rehashing almost every joke from the first film.
Yeah.
And that was something they thought that people wanted, right?
They always think that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity 3.
They don't know why the first
flashback-
film worked. They're just like, we don't know why this is
So we'll
successful.
just
Let's
do the
just do
same
it
thing.
again.
So Paranormal Activity 3 had this thing where they did one really cool effect, which they put a camera on an oscillating fan between two rooms. So it would slowly pan to the living room, slowly pan to the kitchen. Slowly pan. And it created that one simple, innovative thing they did with that third film. They're like, we need to do something different than just have stationary cameras or the guy holding the camera. We need to do something different. So a guy jerry rigs like a security camera, a moving security camera to sweep the house, and it literally adds this tension in that third film. But it's just a creative element they added where they wanted to do something different. And I thought that really paid off. But again, it's seeming like it's only a few key creators in the horror universe that are doing these franchises right now.
It's the horror film universe.
Yes.
Oh, there's actually
What about
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Paranormal Activity films.
There's 6 now? Yeah, there's a
Well,
ghost.
there's 1, 2, 3, 4, the marked ones,
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, and they stop using numbers, and then the Ghost Dimension.
Ghost Dimension. That's 5.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, 4? They named
and
it
then
4?
the fifth one is called the marked
Got
ones.
it, okay.
And then
And
the
then
other
Ghost
one's called the
Dimension.
Ghost
Gotcha,
Dimension.
okay.
I only saw, I think, 1 and 2. Maybe I saw 3. That
I
sounds
saw 'em
very
all.
familiar, but you saw them all?
I saw them out because they still used, like what you said, they still used a lot of simple methods to film a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
It was very because
I appreciate that.
as a developer, you try to find low budget ways to create stuff, and when you watch those things, even though they might not be good, you see creative forms that you can use in what you create.
Yeah.
And like you said, just
It's a
if you don't
skateboard
have-
dolly effect.
Yeah.
You know, using a skateboard as a dolly and like, you know, just put somebody in a swivel chair and just like moving them along like a track. I like that.
Exactly,
That indie kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Even though they're making lots of money, they still try to keep the sequels indie.
Right.
You know?
Like they literally Blair Witch, they literally took low quality film and made it high quality.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so phenomenal that they were able to allow you to accept that.
And that was all shot on like VHS tapes or something,
I
right?
think so.
something like that. Yeah.
But even that, like that,
Camcorders.
they started that whole thing. I remember when the sequel came out to that, Blair Witch 2,
And it wasn't
Witch
yeah.
King or
Yeah,
something, or Witch
some-
Queen
Witch
or
King.
something. And it was like it was a big budget Hollywood
It's not what people
film.
wanted.
Just not. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like very well shot, and I was like, this is nothing. Like, is this even really connected? Like, why are they call it Blair Witch?
Did you ever see
Yeah.
the porn parody?
It's-
Bear Bitch Project.
What the fuck are you saying?
That was I'm not
How do you
making
go
that up.
there? How do you
I just wanted to mention it because I thought of it. Is that not how this
Why are you
podcast
asking
works?
me? You should be asking Diego.
asking me? I'm happily
Diego,
married.
did you ever see the Bear Bitch Project? It feels like that's a very meat. Like there's
No, it's not. Why are we here?
There's no appropriate.
And stop shaking
diet.
your legs.
I'm not shaking. Jesus. No, it's funny in the porn world. They'll name like they'll use any words.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
like
they don't
Bear
care.
Bitch
This
is a
Project.
horror
I'm like,
film
can't
for
you
me
be like
right
Bear
now.
Lady Project? Why does it have to be bitch? Because it rhymes
Yeah.
with witch, I guess. Yeah.
Probably. There's also the Resident Evil films. I mean, I think the last one just came out, last year? And that's supposed to be like the final movie, but those are, horror movies.
Yeah, I'm still caught up in.
Yeah,
what
they
you just
are.
said.
They are.
You guys didn't like the Resident Evil movies?
No, I
I
wouldn't
think they're
consider
good,
them
but
horror
They
films.
are
I wouldn't
horror. If you consider
Action
vampire
because
horror.
there's. I think if you take away the zombie element, they're not horror films, and that's the
true.
only
They're not
reason
vampires.
why they're horror
Yeah,
is because they have zombies.
And
in it.
but zombies technically make a horror. Zombies are a horror.
That first
character.
movie
There's
is
no zombie
definitely like
movie that's
horror.
not a horror.
The first movie is definitely. I
Yeah, the
would
first one's
consider.
not as action packed. It's more like a Saw esque, like
yeah.
Yeah,
like
I'll agree with
Twists and
that.
shit,
Yeah,
and like
she wakes up
It's
in the
very
thing.
like slow and scary, and like. But then later films, it's like there's more comedy and a lot more action.
they're
Mainly
yeah.
action.
It became almost its own brand.
Yeah,
So
I'm good for Mila.
The kid from Mila.
you know
good
what
for me,
became like
Mia.
a little
Mia
Yeah, it's Mia Jovovich. The
Mia
L's are
Jovovich, yeah.
silent.
silent. I'm pretty sure.
She's a great actress. A lot of people don't give her credit, but I think
Yeah, they do.
No, she's not really.
I've
lot of
never heard
people-
anything bad about her.
no, I'm
She
saying
did,
she's not as
He Got
recognized.
Game. I guess so. She did He Got Game.
She did
Chaplin.
Chaplin. She
did
did
a lot of-
Fourth Kind.
Yeah. She's done a lot of like
Fourth Kind.
She has a lot. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
has a lot of great films.
Dazed and Confused.
But she's not as recognized.
Yeah. I guess you don't hear about her as
Yeah.
much. She just went on this role of Resident Evil films are the main movies you think
Yeah.
about her in the last 15, 20 years.
How about this film? You stitch your mouth to somebody's ass.
No, we don't
Human
need to talk
Centipede.
about
I never
that.
watched it.
That's
I've
as
never
scary
seen
as
it.
gets.
Have you seen
That's
it?
as scary. Yes.
Did you watch it?
Why
Yes.
would you even make
Human
that movie?
Centipede?
Yeah, Human
Yes.
Centipede.
So basically, the movie is about this evil mad scientist or whatever who kidnaps people and then sews them together.
Yeah, it's just foul.
And they say they like.
but it's just the scariest thing you can ever.
They stitch.
But he wants to
people's
see how
lips
long-
to people's assholes in a row.
And then they feed the person in the
They feed the
front,
front
and
so
see
he has
how
to
it works
shit
its
into
way all
him.
the way out the back.
It's so fucking weird.
But it's like, is there a story?
There's
like, this
actually-
is.
the
I
first
heard
one-
this much, and
the-
that's all I know
That's all
about
I
it. And
know
I was
about
like,
it. So
I'm
here's the
out.
thing about
I don't
these
even want to watch
films.
this. This is just too grotesque
Yeah.
for me.
Here's the things about these films.
Are they
is
funny?
They become a cult
No.
following. They really do, and it's very interesting.
Because it's so absurd.
I
There's
watched
like
it because
three
I
of them
heard.
now.
Yeah.
Is
Three
there
or
three?
four
I
of
only
them.
watched the first two. I watched it because people were just there's so much commotion about it. I was like, I'm just gonna watch it. And
This
see.
is like Two
And it
Girls,
was
One
just-
Cup. You're like, I'm just gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and it was
You
just,
watched Two Girls, One Cup?
No.
No,
I
don't.
even- No, I'm
Anybody
not.
don't ever watch Two Girls, One Cup ever.
This
ever.
is like
Nick
the
watched it.
porn edition of Get to the Movie.
I didn't
Get the
watch it
podcast.
willingly. It was forced upon me.
Yes,
The worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Worst thing I've ever
Because
seen in my
stop
goddamn
it.
life.
This is
Wasn't an
relevant
option.
to Human Centipede.
It
I
is-
feel like
it
this is a
is.
relevant conversation.
Oh. Yeah. All right. Keep going.
All right. Anywho,
I was throwing my mouth.
I'm glad. Obviously, I didn't see it. So,
But Human
But
Centipede.
you did see
but it's
Human
very
Centipede.
interesting. The reason why I bring that up is that it's crazy, and I'm thinking of films like that. I'm thinking of films like, which didn't become very popular, but it's a cult following.
Yeah.
The Cube.
Oh yeah, I love that first movie.
I love the first film.
That was really good. Have
and
you
the
ever
other
seen
ones were very
Cube?
interesting.
Really good.
But they
Yeah.
became
People
they
just
actually
wake
were-
up. This like group of people wake up inside of a cube. It's a group, or does it start out as one person?
It starts out with one person, then they start
It's
running
on
into
Netflix
each other.
thing right now or
yeah,
Amazon.
watch
Yeah.
it. It came out in like the 90s or something,
Yeah.
or early 2000s, late 90s, something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, this person wakes up in a cube, and then these doors open. They go into another cube, and there's like other people, and then there's all these. Like,
It's almost like
traps
Saw if
everywhere.
you think about it.
Yeah, it's like you don't
Because
even
they run into
understand like
traps.
where they are, how they got there. Nobody remembers how they got there, why they're there, and then they're trying to essentially escape, and people are just getting killed in the cubes, and it's just like all these cubes connected.
They're running into traps. It's almost
It's like a
if you think
low-budget
about it,
indie
it's a
film, but it's
low-budget
really
Saw.
well done.
It's
Yeah.
a low budget Saw because
You wouldn't
they're
think
trying
it's
to
low
get out of
budget
the
though.
cube.
Yeah, it's really, really well done.
Wow.
And it has a huge cult following. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, Centipede has a cult following. Saw
I think
at
the
a point.
theme of Human Centipede is really what grabbed people. It wasn't necessarily the quality of the movie, right? It was just sort of like, who
Yeah, how
doesn't
is
wa-
the quality of
I
the
think
movie?
honestly, the first one, the quality of it was pretty good. It was actually not bad. It was almost like I don't know how to compare. It was almost like Cube quality, but a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't a bad quality film. It was just
Just
the concept
disgusting.
of it.
Is it like a hard R?
It was a really
to be.
push to that event, and that's all you remember from the film.
Is it grotesque?
Oh.
To know that someone's mouth is
sewed to somebody's
sewed to
asshole?
someone's asshole,
Just
and then
two
you
people?
see the person.
No, it's like 6, 7 people.
How many people?
it's I don't remember.
It's like 6, 7, 8, or 9. It's like a crazy
and just
amount
seeing
of people.
that
So it is a
second
centipede. It's
person.
like-
Yeah.
It's just seeing that first person eat.
I feel like you're if you haven't seen
You're
it,
gonna
your mind's gonna make a much more vivid creation.
No,
You're gonna
no,
get a
it
real
is what
fucking
no,
crick in the
it
back,
is
I'll
what-
tell you that
Let me
much.
explain you the
After a
scene.
while.
Let me explain you the scene. The first person is like I can't
I want to be
do
the
it.
first person in the
I
front,
can't-
by the way. I want to
I
be the person
can't
in
do
the
it.
front.
I
Are they
can't
forced to do this, or they do it willingly?
The guy's like, I can't do that. I can't hold it anymore. I can't hold it. The girl behind him, like,
All right.
and then
We should move on. I can't handle it
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Too early in the morning for this shit.
and then but
Oh.
it's just crazy. No, so.
No.
But it does have a cult
But I think
following.
the only reason I brought that up it's because I think Saw towards the latter films, it became a cult following too.
It did.
And that's
people
the only
were
reason.
into like they wanted to see the deaths and how clever they
Yeah,
could get.
how clever
and-
the
and-
traps were.
Right.
Yeah, and
Which
they
I still-
coined that term. What was it? Torture porn. That was the thing.
Was that Saw that did that?
Yeah,
Or
I feel like
Hostel?
it was
Hostel or something?
maybe it was Saw. I want to say it was Saw. It was the first time I heard somebody use that term or read an article where they said torture porn, and I'm like, that sounds good.
That's not good.
But I love the
Like
last
food
trap.
porn, or people use porn in like that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
I love the last trap in Jigsaw. I'm sorry to bring it back to that film, but the fact that it wasn't about a glamorous trap. It was just about this. You have to really just think about it.
Yeah.
And you have to think about, and basically the keys were inside the bullets. And the guy holds the bullet and he says, "This is your key to freedom."
Right.
And he puts the bullet in the gun, basically saying giving you the thought, whoever kills the other person can go free.
Right, but that's
but
not what it is.
But that's not what it is.
The
The
double
key's literally
entendre.
key
Yeah.
is literally
Not really,
in the
not really a
bullet.
double
Not really,
entendre.
no,
That's not what a double entendre is.
That's not what it does.
No, there's no sexual connotation to it or anything.
Is that sexual?
Double entendre is mostly a sexual thing, and it's sort of like
Is it? I never associated it that
Yeah,
way.
double entendres are
I've also
usually.
never looked it
Now
up.
you'll probably look it up. It'll probably say usually sexual, but it's almost always used that way. Like it's a double entendre.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
A word or phrase open to two interpretations, one of which is usually risque or indecent.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sexual. Yeah. It's usually. But yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you could use it otherwise.
Say
But,
double meaning.
But I still got that could be a double entendre if it's not the usual way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not sexual.
It wasn't
but,
sexual, that scene.
But it's
It
a
was
double
not
entendre.
It was not sexual,
There-
But I remember that scene was like two people that were trying to help each other. Like they had been working
Correct. They're the
together
last
whole
ones that
time.
made it, and they were helping each other.
And you were
the
like,
latter
this
part
is so
of the
fucked
film.
that they turn on each other. It was like one of those things where they make the audience feel like, oh, they better not turn on each other. They've been
Yeah,
helping
like
each other this whole
yeah.
time. Like,
And if the asshole of the film became the good guy in the end because he tried to warn her
yeah,
before she pulled the trigger.
yeah.
So we just told you guys the ending, but it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to. It's so complex. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there is a level of complexity.
Yeah.
I did want to mention the Sinister films.
Right. So the same guys did Insidious, didn't or is it?
Well, there's two actually I want to mention because
Okay.
Ethan Hawke is in both of them. Ethan Hawke is in Sinister, the first film, which
Okay.
is a solid movie. It's a pretty disturbing movie. I think it wasn't directed by the same guys that did that, but I want to say they're connected somehow.
Yeah, Oren Peli who did.
Oh, is that what it was the Paranormal Activity guys?
I think it's a Blumhouse. I know it's a Blumhouse thing. Sinister.
That might be the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they only made two. They made Sinister and Sinister 2.
Okay.
Isn't there a plan for another one?
There must be. I mean, they just did Sinister came out 2012, and then Sinister 2 came out 2015. So there's a big gap between the two films.
yeah.
Very interesting movies. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was The Purge, which was the first
Yeah,
Purge
okay.
to me is a solid movie.
Yes.
The first
it's
one.
its own.
The second is solid, but
right.
I feel like 3 and 4. I don't know. It started like they had the political one when it was like what was it called? The political purge one of Purge 3?
Election year.
Election year. Yeah. And they were like tying it into the politics and stuff. And then the most recent one, the first Purge, just came out. So whatever. That's about like the first
prequel,
time
yeah,
they
it's the
ever
first time it
purged
happened,
or
which
whatever.
was interesting. It was like, oh, okay, this is something we want to see, which I didn't see that.
How it all started.
Yeah. But I just feel like
you know
the
what?
quality has gone down on
I
those
have
movies.
never seen any of the Purge films.
What?
Never.
Dude, watch the first one. Ethan Hawke, Lena, what's her name? Lena
Hetty,
Lena
or
Head-
Headley.
Lena Headey.
Hetty.
Yeah. What's her
I'll check
name
it
from
out.
Game of Thrones?
Look, it's Hetty Lamar.
Cersei.
Headley.
Cersei's.
Yeah. The first movie, and the Australian guy who plays like the main antagonist. Have you seen the first Purge?
I want it. Okay.
This fucking nobody has seen
No,
it.
hold on.
Oh my
I haven't seen
god!
I feel like I need to watch it from beginning to end. I feel like
Watch
I
it.
picked it up
Watch
in
the
a weird spot.
Yeah, watch the
Like-
first film. It's not a long movie. It's an hour and a
No,
half
I
long,
remember-
and it's about like time has passed.
The
The
reason why
Purge
I'm feeling like,
exists.
oh,
People
I
are like
wanna
their
see this,
lives
yeah.
are like built around the Purge.
Totally. And this is a movie I've wanted to press play on, watch from beginning to end because I've seen a lot of it and chunks of it. And I've always wanted it. Like, cause first time I even saw the trailer for that when it was first coming out, I was like, that's interesting. Like, I thought the concept was
It
really
is very interesting. And I won't say it's horror. It's like more. I mean,
It's
yes,
jumpy, scary.
I should say
horror.
it's horror. It's more thrillery
Yeah.
than anything else. And there's, they're. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's just like, the day when, and then the whole thing with like the sirens or whatever go off, and,
Right.
Ethan Hawke is like
Emergency
this.
services have been
Yeah,
suspended.
he lives in a rich neighborhood around, has rich neighbors, and you know, it's kind of like this upper middle class, like upper Caucasian middle class area, and he's like living there with his wife and his kids, and then they have this whole security system. The kids are like, "Oh, I want to go meet my boyfriend on purge night," and you're like, "Bitch, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like it's people purging out there." Right. And so what ends up happening in the first one, just to give you like
escapes into like he's
well, so the street. A guy comes to their house and he's like injured and he starts banging on the door, or something happens, like somehow the door is open or there's access to Ethan Hawke's house.
The kids are like, let him
One
in.
of the kid, like the son is like, this is so fucked up. We have to help this guy. So they open the door and let this guy in.
And then brings
this whole gang who has been chasing him the entire time for whatever reason. I don't even know if they ever explain why they want to kill him.
Right.
But it's that guy. Did you ever see? Oh man, what was that movie that James Cameron made where they go inside that big the cavern or whatever, and then it floods out?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Sanctum.
There you go.
You know the main Australian kid in that movie? He plays like the psycho in this. He's like wearing the mask, and he's like the leader of the psychos wearing all those creepy masks and shit. He's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like that movie. I just thought the concept was so interesting. And I think that's a lot of times what's happening with some of these movies like Saw is a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you can start with a good theme, a good concept, you can make the first movie solid. If you start on a solid first movie, the key then is to not descend into the tropes of horror sequels and not try to be like, well, people will just show up anyways. Let's just fucking make it gory and make people go, ugh, like that's all you're looking for. It's like, no, make a solid fucking film. Like do what you did the first time and just go, we need to create something new and solid. You know, like that's
I mean, all of these movies
gotta
we've
treat it
listed,
as an individual film, not as a sequel.
Yeah, they have like on average like decent reviews on IMDb. Like they're like in the upper sixes.
Yeah, they're considered good
films.
6,
7s. Yeah, they're like good solid films. Yeah, horror films.
Yeah.
You know what I just thought of? The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another one. That's a crazy one.
That was Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Wrote the original one.
I feel like we mentioned Hills Have Eyes in like every episode. Even if we're not talking about horror.
Have
somehow
you seen
we
it? Have you seen the
I
first?
have not seen.
Dude.
I've seen chunks of it.
That movie is just, it's
you know what
hard to
happens
watch.
in that movie? The first movie?
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
there is some
it's hard
stuff
to watch
in there where
film.
you're just like, this is fucked.
How did it, like,
They
how
kidnap
did
a baby and they're going to eat the baby.
That's fucked up.
Like, how did that get through
They're like,
legal
we're going to eat
rights?
this. And they say
I
it's these like radioactive hillbillies or something.
I just rewatched the original Mad Max, which I hadn't seen in years.
That is a crazy movie.
wow.
Yeah, and that scene where the wife and the kid get run over by the motorcycle.
Yeah.
And the little kid's shoe goes flying, tumbling down the highway.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Well, there's a lot of them.
Yep.
So,
All right, take us home. Here
all
you go.
right. Well, thank
So
you guys
many
for watching.
franchises.
Some what?
So many good franchises.
Take me home.
Now I want to
'cause I
talk.
don't remember.
See, I just,
Now I
all
want
right.
to talk more.
I know you do.
I know. I have one that I didn't mention. Is one of my favorite horror
say it
films.
real
So,
quick.
The Strangers.
All right, okay.
Oh,
we
dude,
talked
that's
about
on.
it.
I just saw it
I
on
just saw-
either
it's on
Netflix or
Amazon Prime or something like that.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, one of
Saw
those.
that.
And I was like, should I watch this? I was like, I'm not trying to fuck myself up.
That's
right
what
now.
I almost did that with The Conjuring and with that movie. I was like,
Oh, but like Conjuring's different. Like
But
Strangers
you
is
know
like
that 'cause
too
you've
real.
Seen, but you know that because you've seen it.
Strangers isn't paranormal.
No, I just didn't feel like
I can
watching
watch
anything.
Paranormal,
I literally
like,
was
any
looking
day of the
for
week.
something like, fucking Mean Girls or something like that. I was looking for something so fucking light that I like. There's
And they're
no
like, oh,
way.
The
of
Strangers,
making-
that movie Diego mentioned about the group that brings it to the
Yeah, let me
thing
watch
and
that right
murders
now.
them or
What'd you
tortures
think?
them.
I didn't watch it.
Okay, well, that was good.
I also
saying
did
I
not
didn't
watch
press
it
play.
yet.
Yeah,
Watch
yeah.
it.
You just got me all psyched out now. Now I'm thinking it's
Right?
going to be a
Well, let me
crazy
just do
movie.
this. Thank you guys for coming to Get to the Podcast. My name is Diego D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
We'll bring more sometime.
Take me home. I don't remember. Phil Collins. What?
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.